So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the RGM Experience podcast with me, Carl Maloney, that guy from RGM, bothering you again for another week here at the RGM Experience podcast, where we delve into the grassroots music industry and beyond and find interesting people within it. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we've got an amazing duo on our hands today. We've got Caplin and Massiah, we've got Paul and Zetia joining us today for a chat. Hi, guys. How are you doing? You all right?
Hey,
Great
we're
to be
good.
here. Thanks, Carl.
Thanks for
Nice
inviting.
one. Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So it's always nice when I get introduced to new people out there in the industry because everybody's got their own story to tell wherever we find each other. And I do have to admit that the band is quite, the duo is quite kind of new to me. So I'm really excited about getting to know you today, guys.
Carl, it's new to us too. It's a whole new adventure.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, well, it's always a nice place to start. Rewind a little bit. Tell us individually, how did you both get into music and start this thing?
All right, shall I start? Okay. I guess, how did I get into it? So when I was 5 years old, I said to my mum, I want to be a singer.
Ah.
And I knew what I wanted to do when I was 5 years
I
old.
think you said I'm going to be a singer, didn't you?
I'm going to be a singer. Yeah.
Confident at that early stage. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I knew what I wanted to do. And at the church, sang in the church as a soloist and graduated from there. And it's just, what can I say? I'm just thrilled to be doing what I dreamt about.
But you made you released your first record.
Oh yeah, I
at
released my
17,
first
didn't you?
record. That's right. I made my first record. I was 17, and it was a reggae version of "We Got a Good Thing Going" by the Jackson 5. That did quite well, but 17 there, so it's quite a while ago. And yeah, over the years, I've worked with a lot of lovely people: Tom Jones, Robbie Williams, Sting, Johnny Hallyday. Ikichi Azawa.
Yeah, they all want you, don't they?
It's been a mountain of glorious things.
Well, I'm definitely going to delve into those names because that's fascinating. But just before we started talking, you did mention, Zetia, that you've celebrating, and I don't quite believe you, 50 years in the music industry, mate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I just said, my first record was at 17, and yeah. Oh God, yeah. So I've given it away. So yeah, I don't mind. I'm very happy to say.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. So having that ambition so young, telling your mom that you're going to be a singer at 5 year old. How did you get into music then? So just as a kid and having the ambition, knowing it's quite rare to know what you want to do in it at any age.
Yeah, I think so. I remember, well, a school friend told me when I was about, was it 11, 12? I used to bring my record player in the schoolyard and play records. I completely forgot about that until Bridget told me, which was brilliant. So it's like
So you were the school DJ.
the old school DJ, exactly. And so okay, when did I start? Gosh, roll back the time. So I used to do quite a lot of sessions actually. Was it Berry Street Studio? There was a studio in Chalk Farm that I used to go to quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I do some BVs for the reggae guys. And that's where they asked me to, they heard me sing and I thought, well, why don't you cover this song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ziti's had a lot of different parts to her career because she was a kind of house diva in the 90s. She had a #1 dance hit in
Oh
the
yeah, of
States.
course. Yeah, Slide on the Rhythm with Arizona.
Oh wow.
That was quite exciting. There's so much stuff. I need to have a list of
Oh, that's okay. I promise you we'll get through them all. I'm just intrigued to see because people can have ambitions about being singers and find it quite difficult to start getting involved with it really. So I'm just interested before we move on to that bit. Physically, how did you as a young woman? How did you physically get into the industry? I know you said you started doing some backing vocals and things, but how did that mechanically happen? How did you get your foot in the door?
So, well, first of all, I wasn't always a singer. I mean, I sang, but I wasn't always
Yeah.
singing. I did sort of, I was a PA, a secretary and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And in the evening, I'd sing. But I did uh, the Empire Leicester Square.
Yeah.
I joined that group as one of the five singers. And it's hard to say how I got in. I just got in.
Did.
Yeah.
But you auditioned for that band Lady Love, didn't you? And they hired you as their lead singer.
God, yes. You know what? I keep forgetting. So
With the career that so, celebrated as yourself.
crazy. Thank you, baby.
I'm CT's curator,
Got you.
So actually, my first, on my big thing, first of all, was as the lead singer of Lady Love. We supported Margot Jerry in Poland back
You
in the
did a
day.
European tour, didn't you?
Yeah, we did the European tour, and that was Poland behind the Iron Curtain. I mean, I was 21 years old, and this was the
Yeah.
first time that I was on stage, a live stage. Oh God, that was amazing. It really was.
We think ZT was the first Western singer ever to sing behind the Iron
Yeah,
Curtain.
the battles, yeah.
Because obviously she was a support, so they went on before Mungo Jerry, and they said they were the first band ever to tour.
So what was that? Must have been quite an intimidating thing to go into a country over there where the news probably didn't reflect how real life was.
Well, you know what? I think at 21, I think I was just so excited to be doing what I was doing. So I didn't think about anything like that. Although people, they were very curious, the Polish, because obviously not many people had seen black people before, you know. And I do remember them coming up and doing all this to us, you know. Oh, they were lovely. They were just curious. And we
I
had
can see why.
no, we had a really good time, and from then I did a lot of gigs. I did after Empire Leicester Square. I think I did the Beachcomber Hotel at the Mayfair Hotel, a Beachcomber restaurant in the Mayfair Hotel.
And then you got that musical, didn't you?
Yes, and then I also yes, because there's so many things that got on in
sure.
1984, 85. I did Little Shop of Horrors, where I played Chiffon, one of the street urchins.
Yeah, they were auditioning in the West End, and ZT thought, I'll go along and try
I
out.
wasn't bothered. I didn't think I was going to get it, and I got it. So,
one of my favorite films as a kid, Little Shop of Horrors.
oh, it was
Fond
fantastic.
memories of that. Yeah. So it was the West End then?
Yes, at the Comedy Theatre. So that was
right.
quite jammy for 9 months. And it's the first and only musical that I've done so far.
And did you first discover that you had a voice in the shower, or did you just when did you feel
I just had it. I think I was born with it. Sorry to be so, but yeah, I was born with it. Yeah.
Like the confidence.
And it feels so brilliant now at this stage right now. It's even more
But they got you singing in church from when you were quite little, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah. Not that little. I mean, about, I don't know, 8, 9 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like quite organic, and there must have been a lot of music around you for you to just go over there and do this little thing, church, all these different areas around you. Yeah, that sounds.
There was. My parents played a lot of music, mostly country. In fact, a lot of West Indian parents, you'd find country was always on the menu, as well as ska, of course, reggae and calypso, because I was born in Barbados. So we play a lot of that stuff there.
Yeah, and Paul, tell us a little bit about you then, mate. How did you get into this thing?
Yeah, my story's a bit more complicated, a bit twisty and turny as it is. So I was originally going to be a mathematician. I actually went to Cambridge to do a PhD in maths.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I joined this band, or formed this band with a friend there. Yeah. And about halfway through my PhD, I decided that I enjoyed being in a band more than I enjoyed being a mathematician.
Yeah,
so
I can understand that.
The girls were pretty. And so I packed it in and came back to London, which is where I was born. And that band actually got a record deal. It was a band called Animal Magnet. That had one really good single we released called "Welcome to the Monkey House," which is still a bit of a dance floor to this day. But it didn't really work out. And then a little bit later, that would have been the late 70s. So in about 79 or 80, I formed a new band with my then girlfriend and another friend called Hazy Fantasy, which did really well really quickly. We had a whole bunch of hits, and all of a sudden we were like mini pop stars.
Oh, nice.
And that was an exciting experience, and we had hits all over the world, in fact. And for 2 or 3 years, that was a kind of interesting life to lead.
How did the first band break up there? I mentioned earlier I'm a bit nosy, so you kind of like said that band finished, but how did it finish?
No, it didn't finish. I just left. I started the other band sort of overlap. I started writing music with the other two, with Kate and Jeremy, and I just thought this is much better. I like this better than what I'm doing
Yeah.
the magnet. And so I said, I'm sorry, guys, I'm packing
off.
it in. Yeah, I'm off. I just knew it was what I wanted to do,
Did
And
they continue themselves, or
they
was
did continue. They did continue. It never really went anywhere, unfortunately.
that?
Yeah,
Such a fickle business, the music industry,
oh,
isn't
it's
it?
really hard. And in Hazy Fantasia, we were really successful for a while. Everybody wanted to work with us, and we had sort of managers and producers from everywhere. People like Tony Visconti and what's his name, Giorgio Moroder, and people
Yeah,
really wanted to produce us, and we had lots of really big fan base. And we didn't realize how precious that was because we were just kids.
yeah, sure.
Really young, and it kind of fell apart with what they call musical differences now. But the three of us started squabbling a lot, and we didn't realize how precious the thing we had was, and that it's really hard to achieve that. And if we'd been a bit more sensible, we might have continued, but we didn't. And then I went on to I went on to manage and write songs for and produce other artists. So I managed a guy called Marilyn, who was a kind of competitor of Boy George's back in the 80s. He was sort of androgynous pop star. He had one really big hit.
Yeah.
And I worked with him and wrote his songs. And then I set up a record label and a publishing company and worked with a bunch of other people for a while. And then I got really sick of the music business
Okay.
and decided to go back to what my first love, which was computers. I'd always loved computers and loved programming. So I started a software company. And that grew into another software company, and then I ended up turned into a group of companies, and I ended up running software companies for the next 30 years.
Oh,
And that went quite well. But I really missed music. I didn't realize how much I met Zetia
yeah.
15 years ago, and loved her voice. She's got the most amazing voice, and loved hearing her
We were a
sing.
lot younger than that.
Oh, no, I met you 20 years ago, didn't I? Yeah, but we've been together.
We were together.
15 years, yeah.
How did you meet then?
Yeah. And I started, how do we meet?
Yeah.
Oh, that's another story.
Good. That's what we like, stories.
CT was living in Germany at the
Yeah,
time.
I moved to Germany in 2001 for several reasons. And I used to come back to the UK for see my family and friends and gigs. And this particular occasion, a girlfriend of mine said, "Do you want to go to see Robbie, who was a mutual friend of ours who had a stroke?" And he was in hospital, and I showed up, and this one was
Yeah.
in.
Well, I was just a weird chance that I was there because Bobby's he was a tour manager for people like Ricky Gervais
and Sarah Jane Morris.
yeah, lots of comedians and
Well, she's not a comedian, but-
led a pretty wild life and had this awful stroke. And I only knew him because his girlfriend, she was a journalist, and she'd been sent by the Financial Times to interview me about what my company was doing. And we became friends. And I heard that her boyfriend had a stroke, so I went to visit him in hospital just because I'd met him a couple of times and just to see how he was doing. And Titi was there at the same time, so we met
Yeah.
across the victors.
Are you a couple then? Because I don't know.
Us.
Yeah, we've been together, been with a couple for 15 years.
15 years, right? Okay, yeah. I didn't want to presume anything,
Yeah, we've been
We're
married
getting a nice vibe there, but I
married for
just
10
want.
years. Yeah,
Right, oh, no, congratulations.
Not yet.
nearly 10 years, 9.5.
Coming up.
Yep.
Coming up.
Yep. Coming up.
It's been nice planned for the big anniversary.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Have you got anything planned for the big anniversary coming up?
We're thinking of stuff. We're thinking of stuff.
We got married in an uninhabited island in the Caribbean, but a lot of our friends came over. We love it. There's an island called Bequia. Zita's from Barbados.
Yes, I'm from Barbados.
But-
Bequi's just across the water, really.
yeah, and we both love the Caribbean. And there's an island near Bequia called, in French it's called Île la Cat, but they call it Oily Cat. And it's deserted, so we went there and we had a party there.
Yeah,
And got married there, and we were thinking we might go back for our 10th anniversary, see if anybody wants to come back and do it again.
Thinking,
But I was going to say, have you not been back since then?
oh yeah, many
Been back
times.
to
Okay, yeah.
We haven't been back to that island.
Not the island, but Bequi, yeah.
Oh, that's nice. What a beautiful story. Relationships in music. How has having a relationship in music been as a couple? Being creatives, and I know you've had your businesses as well, Paul, but how has the industry treated you as a couple, really?
It's been brilliant. It's been absolutely. I was going to say it's been fucking brilliant. You can
That's
get
fine.
it everyone,
That's
but
fine.
Yeah, it has been.
yeah,
For real.
it's such a wonderful thing to share, and we make music together, and it's a huge bond between us.
Yeah, and we love working together. He's brilliant in the studio. I mean, because he's quick, because I'm quick. Like,
Yeah.
on the line, and he's like, can you double that? Indeed, I
Yeah.
can. It's just a wonderful harmony. It really is.
Yeah, and we were lucky. We've got a little recording studio here in our home, and we just pop in there any time of the day or night and bang
And
things down. Yeah,
work on
I was
something.
going to say, I met Zitia 20 years ago. We've been together 15 years ago, and in 2015, I sold the last software company that I was running,
Yeah.
and I've been devoting myself full time to music since then.
Nice.
And just to complete the story, originally I was writing songs for Zetia
Yeah.
and producing her records, and we released three records together,
Three albums.
three albums together, yeah, three albums together, and a bunch of singles
Mm.
as Zetia Massiah. And then Zetia kept saying,
Let's get together and
Let's do it
be a
as a duo.
duo. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'd love to have him on stage with me. He writes my songs and does all the videos and stuff. And I think, it's time for us to be together because he's a musician.
And I was kind of shy about that, but a year ago I said, okay,
Let's
let's
do
do it. So we decided to rebrand ourselves as Caplin and Massiah and start from scratch. And the style of music is fairly different, and it's much more. Before it was very much Zetia's sound, now it's completely our sound, and it's
And I love what the genres that we brought in as well
we've covered a lot of
are
ground.
really exciting.
Yeah.
How did your mathematical mind help you with music production? Or I presume it did.
I mean,
I'm presuming, you tell me.
yeah, well, they always say that maths and music are really similar, don't they? Certainly, those two talents seem to go together. And if you're sitting in front of a computer with 100 tracks of sound and you're juggling them all, there's something kind of mathematical about that, I guess. It's a very logical process. And music is quite a logical thing. It's obviously a very emotional thing, but it's got a kind of logical structure behind it all. They seem to go together. I don't know.
Yeah, how do you both agree when a song's finished?
That's a really good question.
Well, for me, it's never finished. So
it's time.
But it's got to be finished at some point. It's got to go out, hasn't it? So you've got
to. You know what they say: a work of art is never finished, only abandoned. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I do keep tinkering with things.
We do. But we know when we're working on something at the moment, actually, which we're so excited about, and we're almost.
Yeah, it's just about done. We're just finishing the mix at the moment, just a couple of tweaks. It's done. In a way, music is very simple. It's easy to forget. We get all caught up in the details of it, but there's only one thing that matters about a piece of music, which is how it makes you feel. Does it make you feel something? Because that's what music's for. It doesn't matter how clever it is. It doesn't matter how complicated it is. It doesn't matter how correct or incorrect it is musically. Either it makes you feel something or it doesn't. And that's all we're all striving for,
So I'm guessing from that Zetia makes the final decision then.
Not necessarily. I think we both do in the end, really. You think so?
Zetia reminds me that we have to stop them.
Yeah. Well, let's just rewind a little bit. Zetia, you mentioned some massive names there that you played with. So talk us through the list of names that you gave us earlier, that you teased us with at the beginning of this chat, and your experiences with them, and just give us a bit of insight what it's like to work with these people.
Okay. Well, if I can try and get it right the first time. So going back to my reggae days when I was 17, I worked with a wonderful man called Sid Buckner, who was a producer, and he was just amazing. I mean, this was like.
Well, I think Carl's interested in the famous people you know.
Right, sorry, yeah. I just had to mention
them all. It's fine.
Yeah, he's famous in my books anyway. Sure. Tom Jones.
Yes.
Well, sorry to interrupt. As Zetia's biographer, started at the beginning because she got hired by Kim.
Oh, Kim Wilde.
Kim Wilde.
See, there's another thing. So yes. So
this is brilliant. So just argue it amongst yourselves, as long as you get the story.
Kim Wilde thinks good because he went on tour with Michael Jackson.
Kim supported Michael Jackson in 1988 on the Bad tour, and I was I was one of her singers, myself and Angie Giles, and that was incredible. The one regret I have about that is that we were asked if we wanted to meet Michael. I was so shy. There's no way I would do it, and that's the one regret that I have to this day, that I never met him, that I could have done. It was incredible. But working with Kim and the band and Angie was just awesome, you know.
But playing those stages, just tell us what it's like to step up and have those people in front of you, and supporting somebody like Michael Jackson. Just try and put it into words, those type of it.
Oh my gosh. I remember standing on stage, I don't know, Wembley, wherever the hell it was. There's like 60,000 people, and it's almost as if it's unreal, because you're on this massive stage with all these people, and it's very hard to explain.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain. It's just the most magnificent feeling. One of the things I remember thinking is, okay, I'm going to be up there at some point. I'm one of her additional vocalists, but it helped me to craft my art, if you like, being an additional vocalist or backing vocalist, whichever one you want to say, to realize the feeling of it and to gradually get to where I am now. So that's Kim.
And you still doing, just saying, Zichi still does it occasionally, because last year, out of the blues, there's a Japanese rock star called Yazawa, who's a huge, well, probably the biggest music star in Japan.
Ikichi Yazawa.
Ikichi Yazawa. And out of the blue last year, he called Zichi up and said, "Do you want to do a tour with me this Christmas?"
Yes, so that was after 20 years. So I've worked with him in the 80s. God, there's so much when I'm.
No, it's great. Good.
It's crazy because that came off of the Song for Europe. So a friend of mine, Pam Shane, she wrote the song. Her and
this is the Eurovision song.
Eurovision song. And Elliot, I can't remember Elliot's second name. Anyway, I was around at the time. She said, "Do you want to go to Japan?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So that's how I was introduced to Ikichi. And
Kennedy.
Ikichi Yazawa.
Oh no, Elliot, you said you met somebody called Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot.
Not Elliot Kennedy.
No, what was Elliot's second name? He and Pam wrote "A Little Love," which was the song that I sang for the Song for Europe. I can't remember what Elliot's second name is. Gosh, all these names are,
I only ask because I'm from Sheffield originally, and there's a guy called Elliot Kennedy that wrote for Arlo, Take That, and all that kind of stuff. And I think he did some Eurovision type stuff. So I was just trying to guess, really.
It could have been. It could well have been.
Big guy, beard.
Yeah. It could. Oh my God, how embarrassing! I hope he doesn't watch this.
It's all right.
Yeah, God. It was yeah. I mean that there's a story about the Eurovision that's not so nice. I don't know if you want me to mention that.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, of course. Why not? So I've done a few of these. So I did Opportunity Knocks with Bob Monkhouse back in, oh God, whenever it was, I can't even remember now. And it was lovely. Bob Monkhouse was such a beautiful man. But when I did the 2000, was it 1996, the Eurovision Song Contest, it was the weirdest thing. So
because you got through to the finals, right?
Yeah, I got through to one of the 4 finalists, and we realized that it was not really real. These things you hear about these things being fixed, and this was no doubt about it. So to cut a long story short, when I was the first person to open the show, this was what's the Irish guy's name? Terry Wogan. So it was it's a live show. Terry Wogan was introducing it. I was the first person to perform. Got on the stage, the music started singing.
Nothing.
My fallback was not on. They did not turn my voice on. And if you look at the video, you can see me going like this. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And honestly, I don't remember singing the song. I was so angry, but you cannot see that on my face, right? And I'm just so grateful that as a professional, I could go on stage and do something like that. Because had I not been, I was like,
I've seen that recording, and you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that you couldn't.
Yeah,
do
I
it.
can imagine you beat yourself up about, like, are you hard on yourself about it when it's not your fault, and probably nobody noticed.
it was a shock to me because I'm like, are they taking the piss? Are they really trying to mess
She's
me?
just convinced that they decided in advance she was going to win. She was convinced. She's
Yeah.
convinced she was sabotage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we
Right.
knew that Miss Thing was going to. I don't even want to mention her name. Was going to win it, which was
What
fine.
year was this again? Just so I can Google it after.
See you later.
All right.
The thing is, I did it, and I was so happy with myself. And at the end of it, I do something like that, sort of say, "See, you didn't catch me." But I don't remember singing the song because I was so incensed.
Yeah.
But fortunately, you can't see that on my person. So that was one of the crazy things that happened in my life as a singer. But I always say that if you can get through something like that, you can get through any damn thing because this is live TV.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm always fascinated by, and I've had the opportunity to go backstage at festivals a few times, but I just can't imagine what, like you mentioned, the Kim Wilde and Michael Jackson backstage at Wembley. What kind of what's that like? Because when I've been to festivals, it's just like a few portaloos and a few sandwiches. You might get a beer.
No, it's not like
beer
that
chucked
at
in.
all.
I know. So, what's it like being backstage at Wembley Stadium before you're about to perform at it? Just paint a picture of what that's like.
Okay, let's see if I can do that. Well, you're shitting yourself for a start because
Yeah.
obviously you want to make sure that you do well and be part of the group.
Yeah.
Your thing, and it's exciting, hearts rushing, hearts beating like nothing.
But I think the question is what are the facilities like there?
Yeah. What is bits cordoned enough for people and the security around, I presume. But you tell me.
There was a lot of security, obviously,
Yeah.
because of Michael. But it was fairly relaxed. Actually, it wasn't stressful at all.
I mean, we were backstage at Robbie's thing the other day, weren't we? And they have obviously great facilities for the artists. They have beautiful dressing rooms and lots of room, because a lot of these tours they have 250 people on the tour. With all the sound mixers and lighting guys and riggers and everyone and the makeup people, they have a huge retinue, and the venues are used to accommodating all those people, so they have plenty of room for them backstage and a little helipad for them to nip back to the hotel afterwards.
Nice. It's hard for me to tell you. This was such a long time ago. I mean,
and you were doing it in Japan just last Christmas. There's a 30,000 seat venues, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true. But that's a completely different situation because the Japanese are amazing, and Yazawa has the most amazing fans in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
I was in Japan. I got back from Japan a month ago.
Right.
I'm still going through a bit of depression about just missing the old place. Still, really, it's quite. I just want to go back again straight away.
Oh, I can understand. Which part of Japan were you?
We started in Tokyo. I went to Osaka, Hiroshima, Kyoto, the usual places, and just couldn't fit enough into the day. Really, it was just such an amazing culture shock, and to get yourself out of your comfort zone, which is why I wanted to go, were just brilliant.
So, I was going to say, so it's really hard for you to explain to anybody what Japan's like. They have to go, don't they? Because it's like a parallel universe in a way.
I'm saving up for a Japanese toilet. I'm having.
Ziti's toured with Yuzuru a lot in Japan. She spent a lot of time.
Is it Toto?
Yeah.
Is it Toto?
What's
the loo?
No, it's actually no. But it is.
I just fancy a Toto.
And when we moved to this house, she said, "Oh, can we get one of those Japanese loos?" So we did. Actually, it's really good.
I know I'm going to get one. I'm very jealous. That's all.
But Ziti was, just to say, touring for 2 months last year with Akichi Yazawa all over Japan and all sort of stadium gigs. And I flew out for the last couple of shows, and it is absolutely bonkers. The Japanese, so all completely packed out, and they all arrive wearing their Yazawa t-shirts with their Yazawa scarves and everything, and they start singing and chanting about an hour before the show starts.
An hour and a half.
They just go absolutely berserk, and they stand all the way through the show. All of them stand all the way through the show, and they clap at the end of every chorus.
Yeah, they're really respectful and
Yeah.
People think that they're not doing well in Japan because the culture's so different, and they're not just like they're not like going mental at the end of a song or during a song. They're really respectful throughout the performance.
Yeah, they are. They're very respectful. They go bonkers as soon as the song ends.
Yeah, they do sit for a ballad and stuff.
Yeah,
they're just they're just in it. And of course, because they've known me for 30 years, I've got my Japanese fans as well who are
yeah, there was some at the front with sepia banners.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And you mentioned Robbie Williams there. He's on tour at the minute. Talk us through your.
Went to see him the other day.
Went to see him last week at Wembley. Oh, I love him. So I did a little thing with him, worked with him a few years ago as well. And he's just I just love Robbie. He's such a great entertainer. Really.
Well, I call them mates because I've interviewed him a few times. A lottery winners supported him on his big stage.
They did support him. That's right.
Yeah.
We saw them. That's right.
Yeah,
Lottery winners and Rag and Bone Men. It was.
Yeah, nice. Oh yeah, brilliant. Did you speak to lottery winners?
No,
we didn't go backstage because a friend of ours was singing with him.
Yeah, Sarah has been singing with Robbie for 20 years. So we went to see her and we're hoping that we could see Robbie, but I think he came out the night.
I think he scarpered,
yeah. Okay. And how did your relationship with Robbie start then? Just talk us through that.
Oh, that's so we used to live in Notting Hill, and what was the restaurant called? Was it 192?
Yeah.
It was a restaurant called 192, and I'd gone in there a couple of times for lunch or whatever, and I think I met Robbie there just to say hello, nothing special. And then I met him again years and years later, and he said, have we met? I said, we've met, haven't we? I thought, yeah, I have met you, but it was like a million years ago, and I thought, he remembered me. Geez, what artist does that? And so when I did work, then the first time I worked with him was in Germany. We did Wetten Das, one of these big German TV shows, with Sarah Jane as well. And he's great. He's great. He's great.
One more name then, just before we get onto your album. Tom Jones.
Tom Jones.
Go on.
Tom Jones.
Yeah, go on.
Love Tom Jones.
Go on, give us a story.
What to say about Tom Jones?
Ziti did a world tour with him, and it sounds like it was just like one long party the whole way.
Okay, fair enough. Well, paint the picture of backstage with Tom Jones in the party days then.
Okay, so there's a photo of us in Tom's suite after the gig.
We'll send it to you afterwards. You can cut it into this if you want.
I can do that.
And Tom is literally sitting on top of all of us lot. We're all on the floor, and he's sitting with a big fat cigar in his. I mean, it's like that's how brilliant the Tom was.
But you told me that after the gigs, he used to like to go out to bars and start singing in the bars because he couldn't stop.
Yes, he did, but which was great because then we could all get involved. When we were in Australia. I remember we did that there. That was one of the first times I think I remember us doing it. Yeah, he just loves to sing. He does, and he still does, and he's still got that brilliant voice.
And the partying,
yeah, necessarily.
I know you're being respectful and not giving too much away, but anything about the partying that you can share.
Just that we all had a good time.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Oh yeah. There was on one of the gigs.
Yeah,
there was a girl in the front row who decided to not wear any knickers. And Tom doesn't see very well, but the band did.
He doesn't,
and of course the guys are all doing what guys do. And I think Tom was thinking, what's going on there? What's happening?
And she kept flashing them, during the gig.
Oh, okay.
He completely.
Yeah.
And he found out afterwards, and he was furious that he missed it.
He was furious. Different times, eh? Different times.
Yeah, different times, definitely.
So you've got this album out now as well. The album is called Chemistry, a fusion of groove, grit, and global rhythms. So so I've just named the debut album that you've just.
Yeah. Did you have a chance to listen?
I have. I've listened to it briefly because I've not had much time since we booked this in, getting the record through. But it's so eclectic and so different to what I usually listen to. I need to get it on loop, basically. Okay, I've just not had the time with work and stuff to get through it a few times. But rather than me talk about it, let's hear your views on it, guys.
Well, we've both been around for a long time. We've both listened to a huge amount of different.
Yeah.
For a long time, we both listened to a huge amount of different music. ZT is from the Caribbean, and we both love reggae and soca and ska and dancehall. There's a lot of we're very influenced by that. We both love Afro beats, which is a parallel kind of groove to that that's grown up obviously in that. Uh, and we both love pop music, and soul and jazz, and all of that just goes into a sort of melting pot. Yeah,
I'm flicking through it, just all those different. How is it to create one piece of art, an album, having all those influences? Is it kind of conflicting at some stages? Because when I was flicking through it was like, oh, this is reggae, this is jazz. It's got everything.
We were a bit worried that it might be, but everybody says that all the tracks just sound like us. I think there's a very strong common thread in terms of the songwriting, Zetia's voice, and the emotional kind of tone all the way through. So, there's some songs that have quite a strong reggae influence, some songs that are kind of electro pop, some songs are very much Afro beats, but they all sound like us, I think.
Nice. And how are you taking to being on stage again? Then Paul, you mentioned it didn't
well, we've only done one show together so far, which was the showcase for the album. That went really well. So
yeah, great on stage.
Yeah,
first time I've performed on stage for a very long time. Yeah, but yeah, it sort of wasn't hard. And yeah, we'll be doing some more shows. We haven't got dates planned yet, but we will.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I'm definitely going to put a link into the description of this podcast for people to get involved with the album, and I'll put your website on so they can see where you're playing. How having been being around the music industry so long and having the holy grail of, being the sole focus in your lives at the minute, how do you look back on your careers? And how do you reflect back on the years of music?
Do you want to start if you like? My Zitia's been a singer all her life. She's only ever done that, and she's had amazing adventures as a backing singer, as a soloist, as a house singer, which she had sang on loads of house records. And my career's been very different. I've been in a big circle, so I was a sort of mini pop star back in the 80s for a while. And then I went into complete sort of off in a completely different direction into tech, and luckily did really well at that, and managed to build some valuable companies and have some success. And then I met Zetia and have come back to music, and it's fantastic coming back to it as what you might call a grown up.
Okay,
I like that.
And I guess we're really lucky in that we have the freedom now just to do what we want. We don't have to earn a living out of music. It's nice that so many people listen to our records. We get lots and lots of streams. We get lots of people looking at the videos, and it's nice to feel that people are enjoying it. But we're in a lovely position of being able to do it because we love it. And it makes us happy, and it seems to make other people happy. So,
and you, Zetia, how do you look back on it all?
With joy and blessing, I guess, and I feel very lucky because not everybody gets to do what they want, what they love to do in this world, and I feel that when I'm gone, I've got this beautiful legacy left, that people will still enjoy. That's kind of how I feel about it.
We do, as a RGM magazine, we do specialize in supporting people right at the start of the journey, and it's just really nice to see you guys just loving music.
But you did call it the end.
What's that, mate? What's that, mate? I missed that. Okay, fair enough. Well, we see them right at the start, and you see people getting into the mid-20s, and they're thinking, "Oh, it's passed me by. I've got no chance in the music industry," which is madness these days.
Yes,
it's funny. I think so. So I'm 70. Zetia's
68.
60. I mean, Zetia's 68, although she looks about half that. And when we started doing this, what for us is a brand new project. So we are at the start of this thing in a way. We thought, is it insane to be doing this at our age? But we felt we needed to, and actually people seem to love it. They don't
and it doesn't matter how old you are. It really doesn't matter. If you've got something that people want, and we feel they do, and we only make music that we feel that people can feel.
And it feels so fresh to us, and we're learning all the time how to do it better and better. You know?
Oh, great. I've really enjoyed meeting you today, Paul Ziti. A nice one. Thank you. And so I'm sure there's going to be many more stories that we can tell on the next time, I presume, as well. And just to remind everybody, get yourself on those descriptions to this podcast. Pop yourself onto the website, have a look around, get involved with the band. There's some tickets coming out for shows. I'm not going to put too much pressure on you guys, but get them booked and then
enjoy the music. And if you like vinyl, you can buy a beautiful vinyl edition of the album on.
Yes, a nice signed copy.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your patience today with me, just working my way through your amazing career, guys. Appreciate all your time, and thanks for joining us. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for sticking with us to the end of this RGM podcast. I've been Carl Maloney again, bothering you for another week here at the music industry. I thank everybody for listening and getting involved and engaging with the show. Leave us your comments in the comment section, subscribe, do all the things that YouTube people and people on podcasts say that you have to do. We appreciate it. It means a lot to us. And we'll see you next week for another edition of the show. Thanks, guys. Thanks again.
Bye.